what are the internal structures of failure and success? And I'm like you. I'm a very optimistic person.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly hopeful. So the moment I see negative, I see the positive right away. So I'm going, oh, wow, I'm going to study these negative structures for failure, but I'm going to actually begin to construct all the positive structures for success. And I was working with the urban poor at the time. I was working in the inner city with a lot of gangs, with a lot of drug runners and people trapped in poverty. And I knew that if I could change their internal mental structures, I could actually prepare them for a life of success. And I realized that poverty creates self-limiting structures. And one of the things you have to do for a person is not just give them opportunity. You actually have to change their internal mental structures so they can see those opportunities and take advantage of them.
And you can't just give them what looks like success without changing those structures internally,
It all begins internally before it begins to be actualized externally. And so I wrote Mind Shift because I thought, wow, if I had just known these things in my 20s or known them in my 30s or even my 40s, if I had had clarity about them, I would have accelerated my success at a faster level, and I would increase my influence dramatically.
So what is the main thing that you can see in someone that says they are structurally prepared to welcome success in their life and handle it and potentially stay successful versus someone that is not prepared? They're wired for failure or structured for failure, and when success comes, it's all downhill after that. What's the difference between those two?
I'd say if I had to pick one word, because remember, I have 12 chapters,
yes.
Right? One word, it's ownership. One of the chapters of the book is called You Are Your Own Ceiling. And when you take ownership over your life, and I had some pushback on this the other day because I spoke about this at the Global Leadership Summit, about that our limitations are self-imposed. You can have trauma in your life. You can have circumstances and situations that are dramatic, but the structures that are internal are self-created. They're your response to those circumstances, to those traumas, to those situations. And somebody said, that's so unfair. You know, you're putting all the blame on the person. I go, no, I'm not. I'm giving all the ownership. Because if the limitations are external, you're powerless.
You're relying on someone else to give you
Someone's
power.
Someone's got to fix it.
Yeah.
But if the limitations are internal, you're powerful. So to me, no, this is the most optimistic, positive, empowering mindset framework. If those limitations are within me, and I've created them out of response to the world around me, then I can change them, and I can redirect them and realign them. And so maybe I became bitter. Maybe I'm a hurt person who hurt people. And I thought hurting people was the only way to survive a world that constantly hurts me. But that's the mindset I created. But now I realize, oh, this is a self-limiting mindset. If I'm always going to hurt people, I will never be loved. If I'm always going to hurt people, I'll never know closeness. I'll never know intimacy. I'll never have friendships. I'm going to live my life alone. See, the moment you realize, oh, this self-limiting mental structure of hurting people because I've been hurt is actually costing me everything I want in life. And then you go, okay, it doesn't feel right, but I'm going to forgive. It just feels so counterintuitive. But I'm going to let go. I'm going to forgive people. And the moment you forgive and you begin to open yourself up to people and begin to trust people, your life changes instantly. It's radicalized. And you know this as an athlete. Like one of the chapters talks about talent. And how what I find is people who are highly talented when they're young actually struggle with having structures for sustained success.
Really?
They do. Because their talent is usually matched with external structures for success. So if you're a super athlete, they put you on a team, and then they give you a coach, and they create discipline in your life, and they manage that talent.
It's not self-discipline is what you're saying.
No, it's an external structure. And that's why about 75% of all pro football players, 5 years after they're done with their career, are bankrupt. It's why about, at least half to 3/4 of them are divorced, drug addicted, dead, and or divorced within 2 to 3 years after their career's over, because their talent did not require them to create internal structures
Interesting.
because they're external structures. See, I had the great gift of not having talent. and when you have low talent, you have to create high internal structures. Because if you're going to succeed, like, if I'm going to match against someone who has high talent, I have to have a harder work ethic.
It's extreme discipline.
I have to be more disciplined. I have to have more determination. I have to
be organized.
A different internal structure because I'm at a liability. And so I have people in my life who were super talents when they're young. I grew up with them, and I was considered nominally talented, average, right? And then the moment we were out of high school, and the moment we're out of college, and the moment we're in the real world, they actually lost momentum and I accelerated. In fact, they couldn't figure out how suddenly, now that we're in our 20s, I'd look like a super talent and they looked like they lacked talent. And the difference was that talent is a hallucinogen. It's an illusion that allows you to believe you do not need discipline and hard work to succeed in life.
Right.
But greatness is not the outcome of talent. Greatness is the outcome of discipline. And it's taking that talent and harnessing it to its optimal capacity.
Yeah, I don't know if you've watched the sports documentaries Untold. I don't know if you've seen these.
I haven't seen that one.
It's on it's not ESPN, it's on Netflix, but it's a series of sports documentaries. And there was one of Johnny Manziel that just came out.
Oh, I just started watching that one.
That one,
okay.
yes. So that's on Netflix of that series, right? And here's the guy who was the most talented, the first Heisman Trophy winner as a freshman in college, beating Alabama in Alabama. Talented, right? An incredibly talented guy. The next year plays, gets drafted in the first round, goes to unfortunately, my team, the Browns. And
is that really a team?
Hey, you're a real fan when you support a team that never wins. It's like for your whole life.
Me with the Clippers over
exactly.
the years.
And he talks about, I don't know if you finished it, but at the end he was like, they asked him, how much film did you watch in NFL, your whole time in the NFL? And he says 0. He didn't show up for film. He wasn't disciplined. He was partying on the weekends, and he thought his talent would allow him to deliver at the next level. And talent alone didn't work for him, and he had it at an early age. And so that's definitely something that, I felt like I didn't have the talent, but I had the work ethic, the discipline, the willingness to remove distractions from my life, all these different things to focus, to show up and make the most of my talent as well. So,
yeah, I think there's the curse of talent, and especially when you are a prodigy at a young age.
Yeah. Or you win Olympic gold at 16, and you're like, now what?
And fortunately, most of us, we have some degree of talent, but not so much that we begin to live in this mythology that we don't have to work hard, But it's such a small little shift when you think about, you go, oh, okay, I can accomplish almost anything if I'm willing to pay the price to develop the disciplines, to develop the skills to accomplish this. But what surprised me, Louis, and as I've listened to you more carefully, is I think your dominant frequency of choice is a healer frequency. That your internal intention is to bring healing to people from a place that you've been healed from.
Yes.
Or a place that you're processing healing from.
Mm-hmm.
And so your event is a healer event.